A homeless man gives his last possession, a worn jacket, to a shivering stranger at a freezing bus stop. She takes it, disappears into the night, and discovers a child's drawing in the pocket that shatters her heart. What she doesn't know yet is that this one act of kindness will resurrect two broken lives and build an empire of hope. But first, both of them have to survive the darkest nights of their souls. The only thing I have left to give is killing me to lose. Henry Miles whispered those words every single morning into the rearview mirror of his truck. But tonight, on a New York City sidewalk, slick with black ice and wind that cut like broken glass, he was about to say them out loud to a complete stranger. And it would crack open a future neither of them could imagine. 11:40 p.m. 18 degrees. The kind of cold that doesn't just chill your bones, but makes you wonder if you'll wake up tomorrow. Henry sat hunched on the wooden bench at the Fifth Avenue bus stop, hands buried deep in the pockets of his only coat. Gray wool. Smelled like motor oil and old cologne. It belonged to Laura's father before he died. Before Laura died. Before everything died. In his lap was a manila folder. 17 rejection letters inside. He'd counted them 3 times today. We regret to inform you. Your qualifications do not meet our current needs. We wish you the best in your future endeavors. Henry almost laughed every time he read that last line. Future endeavors. His future endeavors included sleeping in a rusted Ford pickup with a cracked windshield. His future endeavors included eating crackers for dinner and pretending it was enough. His future endeavors included becoming invisible while still breathing. 2 years ago, he'd been somebody. Senior mechanical engineer at Halcyon Industries. House in New Rochelle, with a blue front door Laura painted herself. A son who still hugged him goodnight. A wife who kissed his forehead every morning before coffee. Laura died on the Hutchinson River Parkway on a Tuesday. Black ice. The cops said she didn't suffer. Henry knew that was a lie people told to make death sound kinder. After that, Henry stopped showing up. To work, to life, to himself. He got fired after missing deadlines for 3 months straight. Severance bought him 6 months of pretending. Then the money ran out. Then the house went to the bank. Then Noah went to live with Laura's sister in Boston because Henry couldn't even afford to keep a 12-year-old fed. Now he was 52 and nobody. He heard heels on pavement before he saw her. Click, click, click. Fast. Desperate. A woman came speed-walking down Fifth Avenue like she was running from something. No coat. Just a black pencil skirt and a silk blouse that might as well have been tissue paper in this cold. Her hair was pulled back so tight, it looked painful. Her face was pale lips going blue. She ducked under the bus stop shelter, arms wrapped around herself, shaking so hard her teeth chattered. Henry didn't say anything. He'd learned that lesson fast. Homeless men who spoke first got feared, got avoided, got reported. But he watched her. She was dying in that cold. He could see it. The way her fingers were curling. The way her breath came short and panicked. The way she kept looking down the empty street like salvation was supposed to arrive any second. "Come on," she whispered. "Where are you?" Henry pulled out his cracked phone. 11:43. Next bus wasn't coming for 22 minutes. He looked back at her. She was rubbing her arms now, stamping her feet, trying to generate heat that wasn't there. Henry closed his eyes. "Don't do it. You need that coat. It's going to be 9 degrees by 3 a.m. You'll freeze." But when he opened his eyes, he saw her lean against the metal pole. Eyes shut, body trembling like she was about to collapse. And he saw Laura. Laura, who once pulled over on the Merritt Parkway in a thunderstorm to give an old man her umbrella. Laura, who packed extra sandwiches every week and left them on park benches with little notes that said, "You matter." Laura, who used to grab his face with both hands and tell him, "Henry, listen to me. The world's only as cold as we let it be." He stood up. The woman's eyes snapped open. She looked at him the way all women looked at men like him. Wary. Calculating escape routes. Hand already moving toward her purse. Henry didn't say a word. He just unbuttoned his coat, shrugged it off, stepped forward, and gently draped it across her shoulders. She flinched hard. "What are you doing? You're freezing. I can't take this." "You already did." "No." She started pulling it off. "You'll die out here." Henry caught her wrist. Gentle, barely any pressure, just enough to stop her. His voice came out quieter than he meant, almost broken. "It's the only thing I have left to give." The woman went completely still, their eyes locked. Hers were dark brown, wet with something that had nothing to do with wind. She stared at him like she was seeing a ghost, or a memory, or something she thought was extinct. Then she swallowed hard and pulled the coat tight around her body. "Thank you," she whispered. Henry nodded, sat back down, and immediately regretted everything. The cold slammed into him like a fist. His chest seized. His fingers went numb in under 30 seconds. He tucked his hands under his armpits and tried not to shiver because shivering made it worse. The woman sat down on the far end of the bench, didn't speak for a long time, just sat there breathing, letting warmth creep back into her bones. Finally, she said, "Why would you do that?" Henry kept his eyes on the street. "Somebody did it for me once." "When?" "Long time ago. Different world." She turned toward him. "What happened to you?" Henry smiled, but it didn't reach anywhere near his eyes. "Life." Silence stretched between them like a bridge neither knew how to cross. Then she said, "I'm Clare." "Henry." "Henry." She repeated it slowly like she was filing it away somewhere important. "Where do you live?" "Here and there." "That's not an answer." Henry gestured vaguely toward the street. "Truck. Couple blocks down. Fits me fine." Claire's face changed. Something clicked behind her eyes. Understanding. Horror. Guilt. "Oh my God," she breathed. "You're homeless." "I prefer housing insecure." Henry tried to smile. Failed. "And you just gave me your only coat." "You needed it more." "How do you know that?" "Because people like you don't end up on bus stops at midnight without a coat unless something went really wrong. And people like me—" Henry shrugged. "We're used to wrong." Claire stared at him. Then she opened her purse, pulled out a wallet, and took out 3 20s. She held them toward him with both hands like an offering. "Please, take this." Henry shook his head. "No." "Why not?" "Because I didn't give you the coat so you'd pay me. I gave it to you because you were cold." "But you need—" "I need a lot of things," Henry interrupted gently. "Money won't fix most of them." Claire's hand trembled. She looked down at the cash, then back up at him, and Henry saw something crack in her expression. Something human and hurt and real. She put the money away. Then she pulled out a business card instead. "Then take this," she said, pressing it into his palm. "If you ever need help, a job, a meal, anything, call me." Henry looked down at the card. Thick, expensive, embossed gold lettering. Clare Langston, Chief Executive Officer, Infinity Group. Henry blinked. Read it again. Looked up at her. "You're the CEO of Infinity Group." "Yes." "The Infinity Group. Worth like what, $6 billion? 8. But who's counting?" Henry stared. "And you're stuck at a bus stop freezing to death." Claire let out a short, bitter laugh. "I got locked out of a gala. Stepped outside for air. My assistant thought I left and took my coat and my phone with her. So yeah. Turns out billionaires can be stranded too." Henry shook his head slowly. "That's the most expensive mistake I've ever heard." "Tell me about it." They sat there together, breath fogging in the frozen air. Two people from completely different worlds stuck in the exact same moment. Then headlights cut through the darkness. The bus. Claire stood up fast. She looked down at Henry, and for a second she looked like she wanted to say something else, something bigger. But instead she just said, Don't lose that card, Henry. I won't. The bus doors hissed open. Claire climbed the steps, stopped, turned back. Thank you, really. Henry nodded. The doors closed. The bus pulled away, and Henry sat alone under the flickering shelter light, staring at the business card in his hand. He stayed there for another hour. Not because he was waiting for another bus, just because going back to the truck meant facing the cold alone. And he was so tired of being cold. When he finally walked back to his truck, he found it covered in a thin layer of frost. He climbed into the cab, wrapped himself in an old blanket that smelled like mildew and regret, and lay down across the front seat. He didn't sleep. What Henry didn't know was that Claire didn't sleep either. She sat in the back of a taxi she'd finally flagged down 10 blocks away, still wearing his coat, staring out at the glittering city skyline. Her hands were deep in the coat pockets. That's when she felt it. Paper, folded, soft with age. She pulled it out slowly. It was a drawing. Crayon. A stick figure man with a big smile holding hands with a smaller stick figure. A crooked yellow sun in the corner. Grass made of green scribbles. At the bottom, in careful child handwriting, I love you, Daddy. Noah. Claire stared at it. Her throat closed. Her eyes burned. And for the first time in 10 years, Clare Langston, the woman who built an empire from nothing, who crushed competitors and commanded boardrooms, who never let anyone see weakness, started crying. Not quiet tears. Full body sobs that shook her shoulders and made the taxi driver glance nervously in the rearview mirror. Because she knew. She knew exactly what it meant to give away the last thing you had. She knew exactly what it cost to lose everything. And she knew that the man who just gave her his coat had a son somewhere who loved him. And he was out here freezing, alone. Pull over, Claire choked out. Ma'am, pull over, now. The driver pulled to the curb. Claire stumbled out onto the sidewalk, coat still wrapped around her, drawing clutched in her fist. She stood there in the cold, breathing hard, staring at nothing. Then she hailed another cab, went home, and made a decision that would change 2 lives forever. Claire's penthouse overlooked Central Park. Floor-to-ceiling glass, minimalist furniture, everything white and silver and cold as surgery. She walked in, didn't turn on the lights, and sat on the edge of her bed, still wearing Henry's coat. The apartment was silent. No TV, no music, no voices. She'd bought this place 3 years ago for $11 million. It had been featured in Architectural Digest. People called it stunning. Claire called it a mausoleum. No photos on the walls, no clutter, no signs anyone actually lived here. Just expensive emptiness. She looked down at the drawing again. I love you, Daddy. When was the last time someone said they loved her, not professionally, not transactionally? Just loved her. She couldn't remember. Claire stood up, walked to her desk, opened her laptop. Her fingers moved fast across the keyboard. Henry Miles. It took less than an hour. Corporate resources, private databases, background checks money could buy. She found everything. Born in Albany. Engineering degree from RPI. Married Laura Chen, a high school music teacher. One son, Noah, now 14. Worked at Halcyon Industries for 16 years. Excellent performance reviews. 3 patents. Promoted twice. Then Laura's death. Then the unraveling. Missed work. Terminated employment. House foreclosed. Son relocated to Boston. Current address none. Claire sat back in her chair. This man had been somebody. He'd built things, created things, had a family, had a life, and he'd lost it all, just like she almost did. Claire closed her eyes and let herself remember something she usually kept locked away. She was 7 years old. Foster care. Boston. December. Her foster family had kicked her out for the night because she'd broken a dish. It was an accident. Didn't matter. She'd spent 4 hours sitting on a bench outside a grocery store in the freezing cold, wearing a t-shirt and jeans, crying so hard she thought she'd die. Then a man walked by. Old. Homeless. Wore a green army jacket covered in stains. He stopped, looked at her, didn't say a word. Then he took off his jacket and put it around her shoulders. "Stay warm, little girl," he'd said. "World's hard enough without freezing." Then he walked away. And Claire never saw him again. But she never forgot. That jacket kept her alive that night. And when her foster family finally let her back in, she kept it hidden under her bed, wore it every night. It became her armor. When she aged out of foster care at 18, she still had it. Wore it through community college, through her first startup, through every freezing moment when she thought she wouldn't make it. She still had it now, in a box in her closet. And tonight, holding Henry's drawing, Claire realized something. She'd spent her whole life building success so she'd never be cold again, never be helpless again, never need anyone's kindness again. But somewhere along the way, she'd forgotten how to give it. Until tonight, when a homeless man reminded her. Claire opened her eyes. She picked up her phone and called her head of HR. It was 1 a.m. Didn't matter. "Joanna, it's Claire. I need you to create a position." Joanna's sleepy voice came through. "Claire, it's 1 a.m. I know, this is important. What kind of position?" Claire looked at the drawing. "Human Values Advisor." What does that mean?" "It means I need someone who remembers what it means to be human. Write up a job description. Salary $120,000. Full benefits. Report directly to me." "Claire, are you okay?" "I'm better than I've been in years. Have it ready by Monday." She hung up. Then she made another call. Private investigator. Found Henry's truck location within 2 hours. 3 days later, Claire stood in front of a warehouse in Queens at 6 a.m. Frost covered everything. The sun was just starting to rise, painting the sky pink and gold. She found the truck exactly where the report said. Rusted red Ford, cracked windshield, covered in grime. She walked up and knocked on the window. Nothing. She knocked harder. The door creaked open. Henry's face appeared, confused, scared, hair sticking up, eyes red. "Claire." "Good morning, Henry." He climbed out slowly, looking around like he expected cops, or trouble, or both. "What are you doing here? How did you find me?" "I'm good at finding things." "That's not an answer." Claire smiled. "Neither was here and there when I asked where you lived." Henry almost smiled. Almost. "What do you want?" Claire reached into her bag and pulled out his coat. She'd had it dry cleaned, pressed. The drawing was sealed in a protective sleeve tucked carefully in the inside pocket. "I wanted to return this." Henry took it with shaking hands. He pulled out the drawing, stared at it, and his whole face crumpled like paper. "You found it." "I did." Claire's voice went soft. "How old is Noah?" 14. Lives in Boston now, with my sister-in-law." "When's the last time you saw him?" Henry's jaw worked. 8 months. I call when I can. He doesn't always pick up." "Why not?" "Because I'm his dad and I can't even afford a place to live. Because I'm an embarrassment. Because—" His voice broke. "Because I gave up." Claire stepped closer. "You didn't give up, Henry. You gave me your coat in 18-degree weather. That's not giving up. That's still fighting." "Fighting for what?" "For the idea that kindness still matters, that people still matter." She paused. "That's why I came here. I want to offer you a job." Henry's face went blank. "What?" "A job. At Infinity Group." He laughed. Sharp. Bitter. "You don't hire people like me." "I just did." "Claire, I haven't worked in 2 years. I don't have an address. I smell like a truck. I can't—" "Human Values Advisor," Claire interrupted. $120,000 a year. Full benefits. You start Monday." Henry stared. "That's not a real job." "It is now. I created it for you." "Why?" "Because what you did for me," Claire's voice cracked. "Nobody in my company would have done that. Nobody in my life would have done that. I've built an empire, Henry, but I've lost something along the way. And I need someone to help me find it again. I'm not qualified to... You're the most qualified person I know, because you live it, every single day. You're broke and freezing, and you still gave away your coat. That's not something you can teach in business school. Henry shook his head. I can't. Why not? Because I'll fail. I always fail. Then fail at Infinity Group. Fail with health insurance and a paycheck and a chance to see your son again. Henry's breath caught. Claire pressed forward. When's the last time Noah saw you anywhere other than a truck? Silence. Take the job, Henry. Not for me. For him. Henry looked down at the drawing in his hands, at his son's handwriting, at the stick figure version of himself smiling like he used to. Then he looked up at Claire, and for the first time in 2 years, something flickered in his eyes that looked almost like hope. Okay, he whispered. Okay. Okay. Claire exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for days. Good. We start Monday, 9 a.m. I'll have an office ready for you. Henry nodded, still looking dazed. Claire turned to leave, then stopped. Henry. Yeah. Thank you for reminding me. Reminding you of what? Claire smiled. That the world's only as cold as we let it be. She walked away, leaving Henry standing in the frost holding his coat and his son's drawing, watching the sunrise paint the sky gold. And for the first time in a long, long time, Henry Miles felt warm. Monday morning arrived faster than Henry expected. He stood outside the Infinity Group tower at 8:45, wearing clothes Claire had sent to him 3 days earlier. Black slacks, white button-down, navy blazer. They fit perfectly, which somehow made him feel like an imposter. The building stretched 60 stories into the Manhattan sky, glass and steel. People in expensive suits rushed past him like water around a stone. Nobody looked at him. Nobody saw him. Just like always. Except now, he was supposed to walk through those doors and pretend he belonged. Henry's hands were shaking. He shoved them in his pockets and felt the drawing. He'd kept it with him every day since Claire returned it. His anchor. His reminder. You can do this, he whispered to himself. For Noah. You can do this. He walked through the revolving doors. The lobby was enormous. Marble floors. A waterfall feature along one wall. Security desk straight ahead. Henry approached slowly, already preparing for rejection. The guard looked up. Can I help you? I'm Henry Miles. I'm supposed to start today. Clare Langston. Mr. Miles. The guard smiled. Actual warmth. Ms. Langston told us to expect you. Welcome to Infinity Group, 47th floor. Elevators are to your right. Henry blinked. Thank you. He rode the elevator with 3 other people. They all stared at their phones. Nobody spoke. Henry watched the numbers climb. 20, 30, 40. The doors opened on 47. Claire was waiting. She wore a gray suit, hair down today softer than before. When she saw him, her face lit up. Henry, you came. You thought I wouldn't? I thought you might change your mind. I did, about 6 times. Then I looked at Noah's drawing and stopped thinking. Claire smiled. Come on, let me show you around. She led him through an open office space. Dozens of people at standing desks, multiple monitors typing frantically. The energy was intense, focused. Nobody looked up. This is the development floor, Claire said. We have 300 people working on software integration across 7 platforms. Most of them haven't seen daylight in weeks. That's not healthy. No, it's not. But it's how we stay ahead. She paused. It's also why I need you. They walked down a hallway, past conference rooms with glass walls. People inside having intense discussions. Charts, graphs. Someone was yelling. Claire stopped at a door, opened it. "This is yours." Henry stepped inside. The office was small, but real. Desk, chair, window overlooking the city. A nameplate on the desk, Henry Miles, Human Values Advisor. He touched the nameplate like it might disappear. "It's real," Claire said quietly. "I don't know what I'm supposed to do." "Neither do I. That's why this matters." Henry turned to face her. "Claire, I'm not a consultant. Akio. I'm not a coach. I'm just a guy who gave you a coat." "Exactly. You saw someone suffering, and you helped without thinking about what it would cost you. That's what this company forgot. We think about costs, ROI, metrics, efficiency. We forgot about people." "So what do you want me to do?" Claire walked to the window. "I want you to tell me when we're being cruel, when we're pushing too hard, when we're forgetting that behind every employee number is a human being with a life and a family and limits." She turned back. "I want you to be the person who reminds us what matters. And people will listen. They will if I tell them to. That's not the same as believing it." "No." Claire's expression hardened. "That's why you have to make them believe it." Henry sat down in his chair. It was comfortable, expensive, everything his truck seat wasn't. "When do I start?" "Now." Claire checked her watch. "Executive meeting in 20 minutes. I want you there." "Claire, you're going to observe, listen, and when you see something wrong, you're going to tell me. In front of your executives. Especially in front of my executives." Henry's stomach twisted. "They're going to hate me." "Probably, but they'll respect you if you're right." She headed for the door, then paused. "Henry, don't try to be someone you're not. That's the whole point. Be exactly who you were at that bus stop." She left. Henry sat alone in his office for 15 minutes, staring at his hands, trying to remember how to breathe. Then he stood up, straightened his jacket, and walked to the conference room. 8 people sat around a massive table. All of them looked like they belonged in boardrooms. Sharp suits, sharper eyes. They stopped talking when Henry entered. Claire sat at the head. "Everyone, this is Henry Miles, our new Human Values Advisor. Henry, meet the executive team." A woman with steel gray hair spoke first. "Human Values Advisor. What does that mean?" "It means Henry is here to make sure we don't lose sight of what matters while we're building what's next." A younger man in his 30s leaned back in his chair. "So he's HR?" "No," Claire said firmly. "He reports directly to me. His job is to challenge us when we need it." "Challenge us how?" the man pressed. Henry felt 8 pairs of eyes on him. His throat went dry. Then he thought about sleeping in his truck, about rejection letters, about Noah's drawing. "By reminding you that the people who work here aren't resources," Henry said. His voice was quiet but steady. "They're human beings." Silence. The man smirked. "We know that." "Do you?" Henry met his eyes. "Because from what I saw walking through this building, you've got people who look like they haven't slept in days, who are scared to take breaks, who probably can't remember the last time they had dinner with their families." "That's the cost of excellence," the man shot back. "No, that's the cost of forgetting that excellence doesn't mean anything if the people creating it are destroying themselves." The room went dead quiet. Claire leaned forward. "Henry's right. And that's going to change, starting today." The steel-haired woman raised an eyebrow. "Claire, our Q4 targets will be met without burning out our people. Michael." Claire looked at the young man who'd smirked. "You're VP of Development. How many people on your team worked over 60 hours last week?" Michael shifted. "I'd have to check. Guess. Maybe half." "How many worked over 80? Silence. "How many?" Claire pressed. 10. Maybe 12. "Out of how many total?" 50. Claire's jaw tightened. So 20% of your team is working double time. What happens when they burn out? We hire more. Henry spoke before he could stop himself. And then you burn those out too. You're not building a company. You're running a meat grinder. Michael's face flushed. Who the hell do you think you are? Someone who's been ground up, Henry said quietly. I know what it looks like. I know how it feels. And I'm telling you right now, you're creating a building full of people, one bad day away from breaking. We offer competitive salaries. Money doesn't fix exhaustion. It doesn't fix missing your kid's birthday. It doesn't fix lying awake at 3 a.m. wondering if you're failing at everything that matters. The room was silent. Henry realized his hands were shaking. He gripped the edge of the table. Claire stood up. Here's what's going to happen. Michael, you're going to audit your team's hours. Anyone over 50 hours a week for the last month gets a mandatory week off, paid. Claire, we can't afford not to. And going forward, nobody works more than 55 hours without my direct approval. That goes for every department. The steel-haired woman leaned forward. What about deadlines? We adjust them, or we hire more people, but we stop acting like human beings are machines. Claire looked around the table. Anyone have a problem with that? Nobody spoke. Good. Meeting adjourned. People filed out quickly. Michael shot Henry a look that could have cut glass. Henry stayed seated, feeling like he might throw up. Claire sat down next to him. You did good. I made enemies on my first day. You told the truth on your first day. That's harder. Henry looked at her. Why are you really doing this? Doing what? All of it. The job. The changes. Me. Claire was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, When I was 7, I was in foster care. One night my foster parents locked me out in December because I broke a dish. I sat outside a grocery store in a t-shirt, freezing, crying sure I was going to die. Henry went still. A homeless man walked by, Claire continued. Old, worn out, wearing an army jacket. He stopped, looked at me, took off his jacket, put it around my shoulders and walked away. Never saw him again. Never even knew his name. Claire. That jacket saved my life that night, and I kept it. Through college. Through my first startup. Through every moment I thought I wouldn't make it. It reminded me that kindness exists. That people can choose to help even when they have nothing. She looked at Henry. Then I built this company, made billions, got everything I thought I wanted, and somewhere along the way I became the kind of person who wouldn't have stopped for that little girl. I became the kind of person who only saw value in productivity and profit. Her voice cracked. Until you gave me your coat, and I found Noah's drawing, and I realized I'd turned into everything that man who saved me would have been ashamed of. Henry felt tears burning behind his eyes. You're not... I am. But I'm trying to change, and I need your help, because you're the only person in this building who still remembers what it means to give away the last thing you have. They sat in silence. Outside the window, the city stretched endlessly. Finally, Henry said, What happened to the man? The one who gave you his jacket? I don't know. I tried to find him years later. Hired investigators. Nothing. He just vanished. Claire's voice went soft. I like to think someone helped him. The way he helped me. The way I'm trying to help you. You already did. No. I gave you a job. That's just the start. Over the next 3 weeks, Henry learned what it meant to be human values advisor. It meant walking the floors at random times. Talking to people. Actually listening. He met Sandra, a software engineer, who hadn't seen her kids awake in 2 weeks because she left before they woke up and came home after they slept. He met James, a project manager, having panic attacks in bathroom stalls because he couldn't meet impossible deadlines. He met Rachel, a designer who'd stopped eating lunch because taking breaks felt like weakness. Henry brought each story back to Claire, and slowly things started changing. Mandatory lunch breaks. Meeting-free Fridays. No emails after 7 p.m. Deadlines extended. New hires approved. Not everyone liked it. Michael fought every change. Others called it soft, weak, bad for business. But something else started happening. People started smiling in hallways, started talking about their weekends, started bringing photos of their families to work. Productivity didn't drop. It climbed. Retention improved. Sick days decreased. Applications to work at Infinity Group tripled. And Henry found something he thought he'd lost forever. Purpose. One Friday afternoon, Henry was in his office when his phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. Then something made him pick up. Hello? Dad. Henry's heart stopped. Noah. Yeah, it's me. Henry couldn't speak. His son's voice, deeper than he remembered. Almost a man's voice now. Dad, you there? I'm here, buddy. How are you? I'm okay. Aunt Beth said you called last week, but I was at soccer practice. Yeah, I did. How's soccer going? Good. We made playoffs. That's great. That's really great. Silence stretched between them. 14 months of distance packed into dead air. Then Noah said, Aunt Beth told me you got a job. Henry's throat tightened. I did, in New York, at a tech company. That's cool. What do you do? I help people, make sure they're okay. It's hard to explain. Are you living in the truck still? Henry closed his eyes. Of course Beth told him. Of course Noah knew. No, I have an apartment now, small, but it's mine. Can I come visit? Henry's breath caught. You want to? Yeah, I mean, if that's okay. Noah, Henry's voice broke. I would love that more than anything. Maybe Thanksgiving Aunt Beth said she'd bring me down if you wanted. Yes, God, yes, please. Okay, cool. Noah paused. Dad. Yeah. I'm proud of you for getting back up. Henry started crying, right there in his office with the door open, full tears running down his face. I'm trying, buddy. I'm really trying. I know. I love you. I love you too. So much. They talked for 20 more minutes about school, soccer, friends, small things that felt enormous. When Henry hung up, he sat in his chair and cried until he couldn't anymore. Then he looked up and saw Clare standing in his doorway. Sorry, Henry said, wiping his face. I didn't hear you knock. I didn't. I heard you on the phone and I was going to leave, but... She stepped inside. That was Noah. Henry nodded, not trusting his voice. Clare smiled. He's coming to visit? Thanksgiving. Henry, that's wonderful. I don't even have furniture. I've been sleeping on an air mattress. So we'll get you furniture. I can't afford... Consider it a signing bonus. Come on. She pulled him to his feet and dragged him to her office. Opened her laptop. Within 20 minutes, she'd ordered a couch, a real bed, a kitchen table, and dishes. Clare, this is too much. It's not enough. She looked at him seriously. Henry, you changed my company in 3 weeks. People are happier, healthier, more productive. You know what that's worth? I just talked to people. Exactly. You treated them like humans. Do you know how rare that is? She closed her laptop. You're getting your son back. That's worth more than any furniture I could buy. Henry felt fresh tears coming. Why are you doing this? Because someone should have done it for you 2 years ago, and because... She paused. Because you're my friend. And friends help each other. Henry looked at her. This woman who'd been a stranger 4 weeks ago, who'd taken a chance on a homeless man at a bus stop, who'd turned his life around without asking for anything back. Thank you, he whispered. Thank me by being here Thanksgiving when Noah arrives. And Henry, teach him what you taught me. That kindness isn't weakness. It's the strongest thing we have. That night, Henry went back to his new apartment. Small studio in Queens, Nothing fancy. But it had heat and running water and a door that locked. He lay on his air mattress holding Noah's drawing and let himself feel something he hadn't felt in 2 years. Hope. And somewhere across the city, Claire sat in her penthouse, looking at an old army jacket she kept in a box in her closet. She pulled it out, held it, remembered being 7 years old and freezing and saved by a stranger's kindness. Then she folded it carefully, put it back, and made a decision. Tomorrow she'd announce something new, a program she'd been planning for weeks. She'd call it Thomas's Place, a safe haven for people like Henry used to be, like she used to be. A place where kindness wasn't charity. It was foundation, and she'd ask Henry to help her build it. Because the world was cold enough without good people giving up, and neither of them was giving up ever again. The next morning, Claire called Henry into her office before 9. He found her standing by the window holding a folder thick with papers. She didn't turn around when he entered. "I need to show you something," she said. Henry closed the door. "What is it?" "A building in Brooklyn, near Prospect Park." She finally turned to face him. Her eyes were bright with something Henry couldn't quite name. Excitement, maybe. Or fear. "I bought it 3 days ago." "You bought a building? 42,000 square feet. Used to be a community center in the 80s. Been empty for 6 years. Needs work, but the bones are good." Henry waited. Claire wasn't the kind of person who bought buildings without a reason. She handed him the folder. "I want to turn it into something. A place for people who are where you were, where I was. People who are one bad day away from losing everything or already lost it and don't know how to come back." Henry opened the folder. Blueprints, budget projections, program proposals. His hands started shaking as he read. "Thomas's Place," he read aloud. "Named after the man who saved me, the one who gave me his jacket when I was 7. Claire's voice went soft. "I never knew his real name. But I called him Thomas in my head because he looked like a Thomas. Strong, kind, tired, but not broken." Henry looked up at her. "This is a homeless shelter." "No, it's more than that. Shelters give people beds. I want to give them futures." She walked over and pointed to a section in the proposal. Job training, mental health services, childcare, legal aid. Everything someone needs to actually rebuild instead of just survive. "Claire, this is going to cost millions. 8 million for the building, another 12 for renovations and programs. First-year operating budget is around 6 million. She looked at him directly. "I can afford it. That's not the point." "Then what is?" Henry closed the folder. His throat felt tight. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because I want you to run it." The words hung in the air like smoke. Henry laughed. It came out sharp and broken. "I can't run something like this." "Why not?" "Because I don't know how. I'm not a social worker or a nonprofit director or whatever you need. I'm just a guy who was homeless 3 months ago." "Exactly." Claire stepped closer. "You know what it's like. You know what people need because you needed it. You know what helps and what's just people feeling good about themselves while nothing actually changes. I'll mess it up. Maybe. But you'll mess it up while actually caring. That's more than most people do." Henry shook his head. He walked to the window, stared out at the city. "I can't leave Infinity Group. People here are just starting to trust me." "You're not leaving. You'd split your time. 3 days here, 2 days at Thomas's Place. We'll figure it out." "Claire." "Henry. Listen to me." Her voice cracked. "I've been trying to figure out how to do something that matters for 10 years. I made billions, and it doesn't mean anything because I did it alone, and I did it by forgetting about people like us. This is my chance to fix that. But I can't do it without you." Henry turned around. Claire's eyes were wet. She wasn't crying, but she was close. "I need you," she said quietly. "Not as an employee, as a partner. Someone who understands what we're trying to build because you live through what we're trying to fix. Henry thought about the truck, the cold, the rejection letters, the moment he called Noah and couldn't even promise him a place to visit. He thought about the old man who gave Claire his jacket and disappeared into history without ever knowing he'd saved her life. He thought about Laura telling him the world was only as cold as people let it be. "Okay," Henry said. Claire's face transformed. "Okay. I'll try. I don't know if I can do this, but I'll try." She crossed the room and hugged him, hard. Henry froze for a second, then hugged her back. "Thank you," she whispered. They pulled apart. Claire wiped her eyes quickly and picked up the folder. "We start next week. I want you to meet the contractors. See the space. Tell me what you think it needs." "Next week? What about Thanksgiving? Noah's coming." "After Thanksgiving then. Henry, this is going to take months. We've got time." But they didn't have as much time as they thought. Thanksgiving came fast. Henry spent 3 days cleaning his apartment and arranging the furniture Claire had bought him. He hung Noah's drawing in a frame on the wall, bought groceries, made up the pull-out couch where Noah would sleep. The morning Noah was supposed to arrive, Henry woke up at 5 a.m. too nervous to sleep. He showered twice, changed shirts 3 times, checked his phone every 2 minutes. Beth texted at 10. "Leaving Boston now, should be there by 2. Henry spent the next 4 hours pacing. He cleaned the already clean apartment, reorganized the refrigerator, stared at himself in the mirror and practiced what he'd say. "Hi, buddy. I missed you. I'm so glad you're here." It sounded fake, desperate. He tried again. "Hey, Noah. How was the drive? You hungry?" "Worse." At 1:45, someone knocked on the door. Henry's heart nearly exploded. He opened it. Noah stood there, taller than Henry remembered, 14 now, hair longer, face starting to lose its kid softness. He wore a Patriots hoodie and jeans and sneakers that looked expensive. Behind him stood Beth, Laura's sister, 42. Tired eyes. She gave Henry a small smile. "Hi, Henry." "Beth, thank you for bringing him." She nodded. "I'll pick him up Sunday evening if that's okay." "That's perfect, thank you." Beth squeezed Noah's shoulder. "Be good. Call me if you need anything." "I will. Bye, Aunt Beth." She left. Henry and Noah stood there looking at each other. "Hey, buddy," Henry finally said. "Hey, Dad." "Come in, please." Noah walked inside. He looked around the small apartment, took in the couch, the kitchen table, the framed drawing on the wall. His eyes stopped on the drawing. His face changed. "You kept it." "Of course I kept it. I carried it with me every single day." Noah walked over to it, stared at his own 7-year-old handwriting. "I made that in 2nd grade." "I know, right after your mom taught you to write in cursive." "I don't even remember making it." "I do. You spent an hour on it, used every crayon in the box. You were so proud when you gave it to me." Noah's eyes got wet. He turned away quickly. "The apartment's nice." "It's small, but it's mine. Ours. While you're here." "It's way better than a truck." Henry felt that hit his chest. "Yeah, it is." They stood in awkward silence. Then Noah said, "Aunt Beth told me about your job, that you help people at some big company." "Infinity Group. Yeah, I'm the Human Values Advisor." "What does that mean?" "It means I make sure people don't work themselves to death, that they remember they're human beings, not just employees." Noah looked at him. "That's actually pretty cool." "You think so?" "Yeah, it's like you're the good conscience of a corporation or something." Henry laughed. It felt good. "I never thought about it that way, but yeah, that's pretty much it." "How'd you get the job?" Henry gestured to the couch. They both sat down, and Henry told him everything. The bus stop, the coat, Claire, the drawing, all of it. Noah listened without interrupting. When Henry finished, Noah was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "So you gave away your only coat to a stranger, and she turned out to be a billionaire who gave you a job." "Pretty much." That's insane. I know. Dad, why'd you do it? Give her the coat. Henry looked at his son. Because your mom would have, and because it was the only thing I had left that felt like it mattered. Noah's voice went small. I thought I mattered. Henry's heart broke. Noah, you're the only thing that ever mattered. I just couldn't see it. I was so lost in my own pain that I forgot you were in pain too. And I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Noah wiped his eyes with his sleeve. I thought you stopped loving me. Never. Not for 1 second. I stopped loving myself. But I never stopped loving you. Then why didn't you call more? Because I was ashamed. Because I was living in a truck, and I couldn't give you anything, and I felt like the worst father in the world. And I thought you'd be better off without me. I wasn't better off, Noah's voice cracked. I needed you, and you just disappeared. Henry pulled his son into a hug. Noah resisted for a second, then collapsed into his father's chest and started crying. Real sobs. The kind that had been building for 2 years. Henry held him and cried too. I'm here now. I'm not disappearing again. I promise. They sat like that for a long time. Until Noah pulled back, wiping his face. This is embarrassing. No, it's not. It's human. Noah almost smiled. You sound like a human values advisor. Henry laughed. God help me. They ordered pizza, watched a football game, talked about school and soccer and friends and all the normal things Henry had missed. It felt fragile, like they were both trying to remember how to be father and son again. That night, Noah fell asleep on the pull-out couch. Henry sat in his bedroom door, cracked open, listening to his son breathe. He hadn't realized how much he'd missed that sound, how much he'd missed knowing his kid was safe under the same roof. The next morning, Henry took Noah to see Infinity Group. They walked through the office. Henry introduced him to people, showed him his office with the nameplate. Noah touched the nameplate the same way Henry had the first time. Human Values Advisor, that's really what they call you. That's really what they call me. Do people actually listen to you? Some do, some don't. But more are listening now than 3 months ago. Why? Henry thought about it. Because I don't tell them what I think they should do. I tell them what I know from living it. There's a difference. Clare appeared in the doorway. Henry, I didn't know you'd be in today, and this must be Noah. Noah stood up quickly. Hi, you're Clare Langston. I am, and you're the artist behind the famous drawing. Noah blushed. It's not that good. It saved 2 lives. I'd say that makes it pretty good. Clare smiled at Henry. Can I borrow you both for a minute? I want to show Noah something. She led them to a conference room. On the wall was a massive screen showing architectural renderings, the building in Brooklyn, before and after images. This is Thomas's place, Clare said. Named after a man who gave me a coat when I was 7 years old and had nothing. Your dad is going to help me run it. Noah stared at the images. What is it? A place where people who lost everything can find their way back. Job training, housing assistance, mental health support. Everything someone needs to rebuild their life. Like what Dad needed. Exactly like what your dad needed. Noah looked at Henry. You're really doing this. We're really doing this. That's amazing. Noah's eyes were bright. Can I help? Clare and Henry exchanged glances. Clare smiled. What did you have in mind? I don't know. Whatever you need. I could volunteer or something. During summer, maybe. Henry felt his throat get tight. You want to volunteer? Yeah, I mean, if that's okay. You're helping people who were like you. That's important. I want to be part of it. Henry looked at his son. This kid who'd been hurt and abandoned and had every right to be angry. And instead, he was asking to help others. That would be incredible, Henry said quietly. Clare pulled out her phone. I'm making a note right now. Noah Miles, Summer Volunteer Coordinator. Consider it official. Noah grinned. It was the first real smile Henry had seen from him in years. They spent the rest of the day together, walked through Central Park, got hot dogs from a cart, acted like a normal father and son, even though neither of them quite remembered how. That evening back at the apartment, Noah said, "Dad, yeah, I'm really proud of you. For real this time." "For what?" "For not giving up, even when it was really hard." Henry's eyes burned. "I almost did, 100 times. The only thing that stopped me was you." Me. Your drawing. I kept it in my coat pocket. Every time I thought about giving up, I'd look at it and remember I had something worth fighting for." Noah nodded slowly. "I'm glad you kept fighting." "Me too, buddy. Me too." Sunday came too fast. Beth arrived at 5 to pick Noah up. Henry helped him pack his bag, moving slowly, trying to stretch out the minutes. At the door, Noah hugged him tight. "I'll call you this week, promise." "I'll answer, promise. And I'm coming back for Christmas if that's okay." "More than okay. I can't wait." Noah pulled back. "Love you, Dad. Love you too. So much." He watched them drive away. Then he went back inside, sat on the couch, and let himself feel the emptiness. But it was different now. Not the hollow emptiness of loss. The temporary emptiness of separation. Because Noah was coming back. They were rebuilding. Slowly. Carefully. But actually rebuilding. His phone rang. Claire. "How'd it go?" she asked. "Good. Really good. He's coming back for Christmas." "Henry, that's wonderful. I'm so happy for you." "He wants to volunteer at Thomas's place this summer." "I know. I already added him to the planning spreadsheet." Henry laughed. "You're serious?" "Completely. We need all the help we can get. Construction starts in 3 weeks. We're aiming to open in May." "That's only 6 months." "I know. Which is why I need you in Brooklyn tomorrow. The contractors want to walk through the space, and I want you there to tell them what matters." "Claire." "Henry. I know you're tired. Take today. Rest. Be with your feelings about Noah. But tomorrow we have work to do. People are counting on us. People we haven't even met yet." Henry closed his eyes. She was right. Somewhere in New York right now, someone was sleeping in a truck like he used to. Wondering if they'd make it another day. Wondering if anyone cared. "Okay," he said. "I'll be there tomorrow." "Thank you." "And Henry." "Yeah. I'm really glad Noah came. You needed that." "I did, more than I knew." That night Henry couldn't sleep. He lay in bed thinking about Thomas's place. About all the Henry Mileses out there who needed someone to give them a coat. A chance. A reason to keep fighting. He thought about Laura. About what she'd say if she could see him now. He liked to think she'd be proud. That she'd tell him he was finally living the values they'd talked about all those years. He fell asleep holding Noah's drawing. And for the first time in 2 years, he didn't have nightmares. The next morning, Henry met Claire and the contractors in Brooklyn. The building was worse than the photos suggested. Broken windows, water damage, graffiti on every wall. It smelled like decay and forgotten dreams. The head contractor, a man named Marco, whistled low. "This is a gut job. Everything's got to go." "Can it be done by May?" Claire asked. "Maybe. If we work fast, and you don't mind paying overtime. Do it. Whatever it takes." They walked through the space. Marco pointed out structural issues, electrical problems, plumbing nightmares. Henry half listened, trying to imagine what this place could become. Then they reached what used to be the gymnasium. High ceilings, good natural light even through the dirt-crusted windows. Basketball hoops still attached to the walls. Henry stopped walking. "What is it?" Claire asked. "This room. We should keep it a gym." Marco frowned. "You sure we could divide it into offices or—" "No. Keep it open. People need space to move, to breathe, to feel like they're still alive. Not just another office or another program room. A place where they can shoot baskets or run around or just exist without someone asking what they're doing or if they're being productive. Claire smiled. The gym stays. They spent 4 more hours planning. Where the job training center would go. The childcare area. The mental health offices. The small apartments for temporary housing. Every decision felt enormous. Every choice felt like it could help someone or fail them. By the time they finished, Henry was exhausted. They stood outside the building watching the sun set over Brooklyn. "You okay?" Claire asked. Overwhelmed, terrified, excited, all of it. That's probably the right way to feel. What if we mess this up? What if we build something that looks good but doesn't actually help? Claire turned to face him. Then we fix it. We listen to the people using it and we fix it. That's the difference between this and everything else I've built. This isn't about my ego or my vision. It's about serving people. And if we remember that we can't fail. I hope you're right. I am. Because we have something most places don't. What's that? We have you. Someone who knows what it's like to need help and not get it. Someone who won't let us build something that looks charitable but feels like pity. She squeezed his shoulder. Trust yourself, Henry. You know what people need because you needed it. Henry looked up at the broken building. Saw past the damage to what it could become. A place where people like him could find hope again. Where they could remember they were human beings who mattered. Let's build something that would have saved me 2 years ago, he said quietly. Claire nodded. Let's build something that saves people tomorrow. They stood there as darkness fell, 2 people who'd been broken and lost and saved by kindness, preparing to build a place where that kindness could grow and spread and transform lives they'd never meet. And somewhere in New York that night, someone was sitting at a bus stop in the cold, wondering if anyone cared. Soon they'd have an answer. Soon there'd be a place called Thomas's Place. And soon, Henry Miles would help build the kind of world Laura always told him was possible. Where the cold didn't have to win. Where people still remembered to give their coats away. Where kindness was foundation, not charity. Where hope was real. Construction began the first week of December. Henry split his time between Infinity Group and the building site in Brooklyn, wearing a hard hat that felt ridiculous and carrying blueprints he still didn't fully understand. But he showed up every day because Marco's crew needed answers, and Claire was running the business side while trusting Henry with the human side. The human side was everything. 2 weeks into demolition, Henry found Marco's team ripping out walls in what was supposed to become the mental health wing. He stopped them. Wait, what are you doing? Marco looked up from his clipboard. Opening up the space. Claire wanted it modern and open concept. No, put the walls back. Henry, open concept is what people want. It's collaborative, transparent. It's also terrifying if you're trying to talk to a therapist about trauma and you can hear 3 other conversations happening around you. Henry pointed to the blueprint. These rooms need doors, real doors, and soundproofing. People need privacy when they're falling apart. Marco frowned. That's going to cost more. Then it costs more. But we're not building an office. We're building a place where people can be vulnerable without feeling exposed. Marco nodded slowly. Okay. I'll call Claire. Don't call Claire. I'm telling you now. Walls stay. Doors go in. Soundproofing happens. Marco studied him for a moment, then smiled slightly. You're getting good at this. At what? Knowing what matters. Henry wasn't sure about that, but he knew what he would have needed 2 years ago, and he knew that shame thrived in exposed spaces. Privacy wasn't luxury, it was dignity. That night, he got a call from Claire. Marco said you overruled me on the mental health wing. Henry's stomach dropped. I'm sorry, I should have called you first, but... Henry, stop. I'm not mad. I'm grateful. You're absolutely right. I was thinking about aesthetics and you were thinking about people. That's exactly why I need you there. I don't want to step on your toes. You're not. You're doing your job. Keep doing it. If the crew asks about anything that affects how people will actually use the space, you make the call. Don't wait for me. Claire, trust yourself, please. You know things I don't. Things nobody else on this project knows. So stop asking permission and start making decisions. After she hung up, Henry sat in his apartment staring at the blueprints spread across his kitchen table. Red pen marks everywhere. Changes he'd made. Walls added here, doors there. Natural light preserved in this room. Quiet corners created in that one. Each decision felt enormous. What if he was wrong? What if his experience wasn't universal? What if he built something that worked for him but failed everyone else? His phone buzzed. Text from Noah. "How's the building going?" Henry smiled and typed back. "Scary. Good scary. Miss you." "Miss you too. Christmas is in 2 weeks. Can't wait." 2 weeks. Henry had been so focused on Thomas's place he'd almost forgotten. Noah was coming back for a full week this time. Beth had agreed to let him stay through New Year's. The thought made Henry work harder. He wanted Noah to see this, to understand that people could rebuild, that giving up wasn't the only option, that his father had found a way back. By Christmas Eve, the building had bones again. New walls, new electrical, new plumbing. The gym had been cleaned and the old basketball hoops repaired. The temporary housing units were framed in. The job training center was taking shape. It still looked like a construction site, but if you squinted, you could see what it was becoming. Noah arrived Christmas morning with Beth and her husband Tom. Henry had spent the previous night decorating his apartment. A small tree, lights, presents he'd actually been able to buy this year with money he'd actually earned. When Noah walked in, his face lit up. "Dad, this is amazing." "It's just a tree." "No, it's a Christmas, a real one. We haven't had one since—" He stopped. "Since Laura died. Since everything fell apart." Henry pulled him into a hug. "I know, buddy, I know." Beth and Tom stayed for coffee, then left to visit Tom's family in New Jersey. They'd be back in a week. Which meant Henry had his son all to himself for 7 days. They spent Christmas Day eating takeout Chinese food and watching bad movies. Normal things. Simple things. Things Henry never thought he'd get to do again. That evening, as they sat on the couch with leftover lo mein, Noah said, "Can we go see Thomas's place tomorrow?" "It's still a construction site. There's not much to see." "I don't care. I want to see what you're building." The next morning, they took the subway to Brooklyn. Henry had called Marco to make sure it was okay to bring Noah by. Marco had laughed and said half his crew was bringing their kids to see the site during the holiday break anyway. When they arrived, the building was quieter than usual. Just a few contractors doing electrical work. Henry gave Noah a hard hat, and they walked through together. Noah didn't say much at first, just looked at everything. Touched the new drywall, stood in the empty gym, walked through the mental health wing with its privacy walls and real doors. In what would become the childcare center, Noah stopped. The room had windows facing a small courtyard that would eventually be a playground. Someone had already installed child height sinks in the bathroom. "Kids are going to come here while their parents get help?" Noah asked. "That's the plan. So parents don't have to choose between getting help and taking care of their kids." "That's smart. When Mom died, Aunt Beth had to take off work for like 2 months to take care of me while you were—" He stopped. "While I was falling apart." "Yeah. I'm sorry you had to go through that." Noah shrugged. "It wasn't your fault." "It was. I chose to disappear instead of choosing to stay." "Dad, you were sad. Really sad. I get it now. I didn't then, but I do now." Henry crouched down so he was eye level with his son. "Being sad doesn't excuse abandoning the people who need you. You deserved better." "I deserved my dad. And now I have him again. That's what matters." Henry hugged him tight. Over Noah's shoulder, he saw Claire walking toward them. She waved. Henry waved back. Someone you know? Noah asked. The person who made all this possible. Claire reached them and smiled. Noah, good to see you again. What do you think? It's incredible, all of it. How many people will be able to use this place? We're planning for about 200 people at a time. Some in temporary housing, others in day programs. Job training can handle 50 people per session. Mental health services another 100 weekly. Childcare for 30 kids. Noah's eyes widened. That's a lot of people. It's not nearly enough, but it's a start. Claire looked at Henry. Your dad's been essential. Every decision about how this space works has come from him. Really? Really. I know business. He knows people. That combination is what's going to make this place actually help instead of just looking good. They walked through the rest of the building together. Claire explaining the technical details, Henry adding the human reasons behind each choice. Noah asked questions, smart ones, about funding and sustainability and how they'd measure success. We're not measuring success in numbers, Henry said. We're measuring it in lives. If one person walks out of here with a job and hope and a plan, we succeeded. But you'll want to help more than one person, right? Of course, but we're not going to sacrifice quality for quantity. Every person who comes through these doors is going to get real attention, real help, not just processed through a system. Claire nodded. That's been the biggest fight with our board. They want metrics and KPIs. Henry keeps reminding them we're dealing with humans, not data points. How do you convince them? Noah asked. I tell them stories, real ones, about people I met when I was living in my truck, about what actually helps versus what just makes donors feel good. Henry paused. And sometimes I tell them that if they want data over humanity, they're welcome to fund someone else's project. Claire laughed. He's gotten very good at calling out BS in meetings. They finished the tour in the gym. Someone had set up a single basketball hoop with a new net. Noah immediately grabbed a ball from a pile in the corner and started shooting. Henry and Claire watched him play. He's good, Claire said. He gets that from Laura. She played in high school. You must miss her. Every day, but it's different now. Less like drowning, more like remembering someone who mattered. Henry glanced at Claire. Thank you for this. All of it. I know I say it a lot, but I don't think you understand how much you saved me. You saved yourself. I just gave you a coat back. You gave me a lot more than a coat. They stood in comfortable silence, watching Noah make shot after shot. The ball echoing in the empty gym. The sound of something young and alive in a building designed to resurrect broken things. Henry, Claire said quietly, there's something I need to tell you. His stomach tightened. What? The board wants to do a press event when we open. Big media push. Feature stories about Thomas's place and why we built it. Okay, that makes sense. They want to tell your story. The homeless man who became an executive and now runs a homeless shelter. They think it's perfect PR. Henry's jaw clenched. No. I told them you'd say that. Then why are you asking? Because they're not wrong. Your story is powerful. It could inspire donations, get more people to care, help us expand faster. My story is private. It's mine. I'm not performing my trauma so rich people feel good about writing checks. I know, and I agree. But I wanted you to hear it from me before they approach you directly. Claire turned to face him. They're going to push hard, especially Marcus. He's the board chair, and he's very focused on optics. Let him push. The answer's no. What if it means helping more people? What if it means turning real suffering into a brand story? What if some guy who's currently living in his truck sees me on TV talking about how I pulled myself up and thinks he's failing because he hasn't? What if we turn hope into another thing poor people have to perform for? Claire was quiet for a moment. Then she said, You're right. I'll tell them no. You will? Yes. This place isn't about us. It's about the people we're trying to help. The second we make it about our stories, we've already lost the plot. Henry felt relief flood through him. Thank you. But Henry, you need to be ready. They're going to fight me on this. Some of them might go around me and approach you directly. Marcus especially. He's not used to hearing no. I can handle it. I know you can, just giving you the warning. Noah jogged over, ball under his arm. This gym is perfect. You should do a basketball program for kids. Henry and Claire looked at each other. That's actually a great idea, Claire said. After-school basketball. Keeps kids occupied while parents are in programs. And teaches teamwork and discipline, Noah added. My coach always says basketball teaches life skills. Noah Miles, program consultant, Henry said. Should I add that to your summer volunteer title? Noah grinned. Whatever you need, Dad. They left the building as the sun was setting. On the subway ride back to Manhattan, Noah fell asleep against Henry's shoulder. Henry sat very still, not wanting to wake him, just grateful for the weight of his son against him. His phone buzzed. Text from Claire. Marcus just called. I told him no press without your consent. He's not happy, but he'll deal with it. This is your story, Henry, nobody else's. Henry typed back one-handed. Thank you for everything. Thank you for trusting me, and for building something that matters. The week with Noah passed too quickly. They went ice skating in Central Park, saw a Knicks game, ate too much pizza, stayed up late talking about everything and nothing. On New Year's Eve, they stood on Henry's tiny balcony watching fireworks over the city. This was a good year, Noah said. Best one in a long time. Next year's going to be better, though. Yeah, why's that? Because Thomas's place opens. Because you're not just surviving anymore, you're building something. Because we're actually a family again. Henry pulled his son close. When did you get so smart? I've always been smart, you just weren't around to notice. It was said without malice, just fact. And it hurt worse than any accusation. You're right. I'm sorry. I know you are, and I forgive you, but Dad, yeah. Don't disappear again, even when things get hard, especially when things get hard. I won't, I promise. The fireworks exploded overhead, gold and silver and red. The whole city, celebrating another year, survived, another year beginning. Henry thought about where he'd been last New Year's Eve. Alone in his truck. No fireworks. No hope. Just cold and dark and endless. And now he was here. With his son. With a job. With a purpose. Building something that might save people the way Claire had saved him. Happy New Year, buddy, Henry whispered. Happy New Year, Dad. The next morning, Beth and Tom came to pick Noah up. The goodbye was easier this time. Because they had a plan. Noah would come back for spring break. Then all summer. They'd talk every week. They'd stay connected. Love you, Dad. Love you too. So much. After they left, Henry sat in his apartment and let himself feel the quiet. Not the desperate, lonely quiet of before. Just the regular quiet of someone living alone who wouldn't be alone forever. His phone rang. Marcus's number. The board chair Claire had warned him about. Henry considered not answering, then decided he might as well get this over with. Hello. Henry Miles. This is Marcus Chen. I'm the chairman of the Thomas's Place Board of Directors. I know who you are. Good. Then you know I'm calling about the media strategy for our opening. I understand you have reservations about sharing your story. I don't have reservations. I have a no. My story is private. I respect that. But consider this. Your story could inspire millions. It could bring in funding that helps thousands of people. Isn't that worth some personal discomfort? It's not about discomfort. It's about integrity. I'm not turning my worst moments into inspiration porn. Marcus's voice cooled. That's a cynical way to view it. That's an honest way to view it. You want to use me to make donors feel good. I want to actually help people without performing for cameras. We can't help anyone without funding. Then get funding another way. Tell Claire's story. Tell Thomas's story, the man who saved her. Hell, make up a story if you have to. But leave me out of it. Henry, I don't think you understand how nonprofit work operates. I understand perfectly. You want a redemption story you can package and sell. You want before and after photos. You want me to cry on camera about how low I fell so donors can feel like heroes for writing checks. Henry's voice hardened. I won't do it. Find another angle. This is a mistake. Maybe, but it's my mistake to make. Marcus hung up without saying goodbye. Henry sat holding his phone, adrenaline pumping. He'd just told off a billionaire board chairman. A year ago, he would have been terrified of burning that bridge. Now he just felt tired. His phone rang again immediately. Claire this time. Marcus just called me screaming. What did you say to him? The truth. That I'm not performing my trauma for donors. Claire was quiet for a second. Then she started laughing. Oh my God. You actually told him that. Was I not supposed to? No, you absolutely were supposed to. Nobody's told Marcus no in 20 years. It's good for him. She paused. He's threatening to quit the board. I'm sorry. Don't be. He's been a pain since day one. If he quits, we'll replace him with someone who actually cares about people over optics. You're not mad. Henry, I'm proud of you. You stood up for your principles. That's exactly the energy we need running this place. After they hung up, Henry walked to his window and looked out at the city. Millions of people out there. Thousands of them struggling. Some of them in trucks like he'd been. Some of them one bad day away from losing everything. Thomas's place would open in 4 months, and when it did, it would be real, honest, built on actual human values instead of performed redemption. Because Henry Miles knew something Marcus Chen didn't. You couldn't save people by making them into stories. You saved them by treating them like humans. And that was exactly what Thomas's place would do. Marcus didn't quit the board. Instead, he showed up at Thomas's place 3 weeks later with a camera crew and a plan to do the press event anyway. Henry arrived at the building site that morning to find lights being set up in the gym and a producer barking orders to assistants. Marco grabbed Henry's arm the second he walked in. I tried to stop them. They said Marcus authorized it. Where is he? Conference room, with Claire. It's not going well. Henry could hear the shouting before he reached the room. Claire's voice sharp and controlled. Marcus loud and indignant. You're being unreasonable, Marcus was saying. This is happening whether you like it or... Henry opened the door. Both of them turned. Get your camera crew out of my building, Henry said quietly. Marcus smiled, cold. Your building. I think you mean our building. The board owns this facility, and we have every right to document. You have the right to document construction. You don't have the right to exploit my story without consent. We're not exploiting anything. We're sharing an inspiring message of hope. No, you're selling a product. And I'm not for sale. Marcus's face reddened. You work for us. As an employee of this organization? I don't work for you, Henry interrupted. I work for Claire. And I work for the people who'll use this place. You're just a guy on a board who thinks money means he gets to control everything. How dare you speak to me like that? Pretty easily, actually. Claire stepped between them. Marcus, the camera crew, leaves now or I'm calling security. You wouldn't. Try me. They stared at each other. Finally, Marcus pulled out his phone and made a call. Pack it up. We're leaving. He hung up and looked at Claire. This isn't over. The board will hear about your insubordination. Good. I'll tell them myself. And I'll explain how you violated the privacy of the person this entire facility is designed to serve. Let's see how that plays. Marcus left. His camera crew followed, grumbling about wasted time and equipment rentals. When they were gone, Claire sat down hard in one of the folding chairs. That man makes me want to scream. Why is he on the board if he's this awful? Because he donated $3 million, and in the nonprofit world, money talks louder than ethics. She looked up at Henry. I'm sorry, I should have seen this coming. You told him no. That's all you could do. I should have done more. Should have had better protections in place. Henry sat down next to her. Claire, you can't control everything, especially not rich people who think their money means they own other people's stories. He's going to make trouble. Let him. We're doing the right thing. That's what matters. Is it though? What if he pulls his funding? What if other board members follow? We could lose everything before we even open. Then we find new funding, but we don't compromise on this. The second we start treating people like props, we've failed. Claire nodded slowly. You're right. I know you're right. I'm just tired of fighting. Then let me fight. That's why you hired me. She smiled weakly. To fight billionaire board chairs. To protect the integrity of what we're building. Same thing. Over the next month, Marcus made good on his threat. He called emergency board meetings, sent angry emails, threatened to withhold future funding. 3 other board members sided with him, arguing that Henry was being precious and that the media exposure would benefit everyone. But Claire held firm, and slowly other board members started pushing back. A woman named Patricia, who'd been homeless as a teenager. A man named David, whose brother had died on the streets. They understood what Henry was protecting. The vote came on a freezing February morning. Whether to require Henry's participation in media events as a condition of his employment. Henry wasn't allowed in the boardroom during deliberations. He sat outside with Claire, both of them silent, both knowing this was bigger than just one vote. If they won, Thomas's place would open on their terms. Real help over good optics. If they lost, Henry would resign before he'd let himself be turned into a brand mascot. The door opened. Patricia came out first. She was smiling. You won. 7-5. Marcus is furious, but it's over. Claire hugged her. Henry just felt exhausted relief. There's more, Patricia said. The board voted to remove Marcus as chairman. David's taking over, and Marcus resigned entirely. Said he wouldn't be part of an organization that coddles feelings over results. Good riddance, Claire muttered. His $3 million pledge, he's withdrawing it, effective immediately. Henry's stomach dropped. That's a huge loss. It is, but David already has 3 potential donors lined up. Smaller amounts, but they actually align with our values. Patricia squeezed Henry's shoulder. You did the right thing. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. After she left, Henry and Claire sat in silence. $3 million, Henry finally said. Worth it. How can you say that? Because I'd rather build something small and honest than something huge and hollow. We'll figure out the money. We always do. By mid-April, Thomas's place was nearly finished. The walls were painted, the furniture delivered, the gym floor refinished. The temporary housing units had beds and dressers and small kitchens. The job training center had computers and desks and whiteboards. The mental health wing had those private rooms with real doors that Henry had fought for. It looked real. It felt real. The staff started arriving. Counselors, job coaches, childcare workers, administrative support. Henry interviewed every single person personally, asking one question that wasn't on Claire's official list. Why do you want to work here? Most gave good answers, a few gave great ones. But one woman, a counselor named Maria, said something that made Henry hire her on the spot. Because I've been on both sides. I've been the person needing help and the person giving it. And I know the difference between programs that actually care and programs that just process people through. She looked Henry straight in the eye. I'm guessing you know that difference too. I do. Then you know why I'm here. To do the real work, not the work that looks good in reports. Henry hired her immediately. 2 weeks before opening, Claire called a staff meeting. Everyone gathered in the gym. 30 people who'd chosen to work at Thomas's place for reasons that went deeper than paychecks. Claire stood in the center of the circle they'd formed. In 2 weeks, we open these doors. People are going to walk in carrying trauma and fear and exhaustion and hope that's barely alive. Our job is to tend that hope like it's the most precious thing in the world. Because it is. She paused. Some of you know Henry's story. Most of you don't. He's kept it private, and that's his right. But I'm going to tell you one thing about him. 2 years ago, he had nothing. He was living in a truck, no job, no home, no visible future. And on the coldest night of the year, he gave away his only coat to a stranger who needed it. Henry felt everyone's eyes on him. Wanted to disappear. That stranger was me, Claire continued. And that coat changed my life. Not because it kept me warm, but because it reminded me that kindness still exists. That people still care about each other even when caring costs them everything. Her voice cracked. We're not building a shelter. We're not building a charity. We're building a place where that kind of kindness can happen every single day. Where people remember they're human beings who matter. Where hope gets fed instead of starved. She looked around the circle. If that's not what you're here for, leave now. Because this work will break your heart. It will exhaust you. It will make you question everything. But if you stay, if you do this work with integrity and compassion, you'll save lives. You'll give people what Henry gave me. A reason to believe the world isn't as cold as it feels. Nobody left. The grand opening was scheduled for May 1st. Claire wanted it simple. No politicians, no press. Just the staff, the board, and the first group of people who'd use the facility. Henry spent the night before, unable to sleep. He walked through the empty building at 2 a.m., turning on lights, checking rooms, making sure everything was ready. In the gym, he found Claire sitting on the floor, back against the wall. Couldn't sleep either, he asked. Too nervous. What if nobody comes? They'll come. What if we're not ready? What if we mess this up? Henry sat down next to her. We will mess up. Probably a lot. But we'll fix it. That's the whole point. This place isn't supposed to be perfect. It's supposed to be human. When did you get so wise? I'm not wise. I'm just someone who's been broken enough times to know that cracks don't mean failure. They just mean you survived something hard. Claire leaned her head on his shoulder. Thank you. For fighting for this. For keeping it honest. Thank you for giving me a reason to fight. They sat there in the quiet gym, two people who'd been saved by kindness waiting for dawn so they could start saving others. The doors opened at 8 a.m. Henry stood in the lobby with Claire and the rest of the staff. His hands were shaking. His heart was racing. What if he'd built something that looked good but didn't actually help? What if all these months of work meant nothing? The first person walked in at 8:15, a woman, maybe 40, thin, worn out. She carried a garbage bag that probably held everything she owned. She stopped just inside the door, looking around like she was waiting to be kicked out. Maria stepped forward. Welcome to Thomas's place. I'm Maria. Can I help you find something? I heard you have job training. The woman's voice was barely above a whisper. We do, and a lot more. Are you hungry? We have breakfast. I don't have money. You don't need money. Everything here is free. The woman's eyes filled with tears. Free. Free. Come on. Let me show you around. Maria led her deeper into the building. Henry watched them go throat tight. More people came, one at a time, then in pairs, then small groups. By noon, 40 people were inside, some in the job training center, others meeting with counselors, a few just sitting in the gym shooting baskets, existing without anyone asking them to justify their presence. Henry walked through the building listening, watching, making sure everything was working the way it was supposed to. In the mental health wing, he heard a man crying behind one of those doors he'd fought for. Private, soundproofed, safe. In the job training center, a woman was laughing at something the instructor said. Actually laughing, not performing joy, feeling it. In the childcare area, a little girl was playing with blocks while her mother was in a counseling session. The girl looked up at Henry and smiled. Just smiled, like she felt safe. That's when Henry knew they'd done it. They'd built something real. He found Claire in her office, staring at her computer screen with tears running down her face. "What's wrong?" She turned the screen toward him. An email. From Patricia. She just secured a $5 million grant from a foundation that supports trauma-informed care. They want to partner with us, expand the model to other cities. Henry sat down hard. $5 million. $5 million. We just replaced Marcus's $3 million and added 2 more. They stared at each other. Then they both started laughing. Not polite laughter. Deep, relieved, exhausted laughter that came from months of fighting and building and hoping. When they finally stopped, Claire said, "We did it. We did it. What now?" Henry thought about all the people in the building. All the people who'd come tomorrow. All the people in New York right now who didn't know this place existed yet, but needed it desperately. Now we do the work. That summer, Noah came back as promised. He'd just finished freshman year. Taller again. Older. More confident. Henry picked him up at Port Authority, and the hug lasted a full minute. "Missed you, Dad." "Missed you more, buddy." They took the subway to Brooklyn. Noah had been texting Henry constantly for months about Thomas's place, asking questions, offering ideas, planning his volunteer work. When they walked in, Noah stopped dead. "Oh my God." "What?" "It's real. Like really real, with actual people and everything." Henry smiled. "What did you think it would be?" "I don't know. I guess I thought it would feel more like a building, but it feels like a community." That's exactly what it had become. In 2 months, over 300 people had walked through the doors. Some stayed for weeks in the temporary housing. Others came just for meals or showers. Many joined the job training programs. 15 people had gotten jobs. Real jobs. With benefits and futures. 8 families had moved into permanent housing. Countless others had found counseling that actually helped instead of just checking boxes. And the gym was always full. People playing basketball or just sitting on the bleachers watching Being Human. Noah spent his first week shadowing different staff members. He worked with Maria in counseling intake. Helped the job training instructor set up computers. Spent hours in the gym running pickup games with whoever showed up. One afternoon, Henry found him sitting with an older man in the gym. The man was crying. Noah was just sitting there not saying anything, just present. When the man finally left, Henry approached his son. "What was that about?" "He was telling me about his daughter, how he hasn't seen her in 5 years because he's been homeless and ashamed. I told him my dad was homeless for a while too, and I was just glad to have him back." Henry's chest tightened. "What did he say?" "He asked if he could call his daughter, so I let him use my phone. She answered. They talked for like 20 minutes. He's going to see her next week." "Noah, I know it's just one person, but it felt important." Henry hugged his son. "It is important. One person is everything." In August, Claire called Henry into her office. She looked nervous. "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong. I just need to ask you something." "Okay. How do you feel about Thomas's place?" "What do you mean I love it?" "I mean the work, the actual day-to-day. Are you happy?" Henry thought about it. The early mornings, the hard conversations, the people he couldn't save no matter how hard he tried, the ones he could save who made everything worth it. "I'm happier than I've been in years. Why?" Claire took a deep breath. "Because I want to step back. From Infinity Group. Hand it over to someone else so I can focus entirely on Thomas's place. And I want you to run it with me." Henry stared. "What?" "Not as my employee. As my partner. Co-director. Equal decision-making. Equal credit. Equal responsibility." "Claire, I can't." "Why not?" You've been doing the work of director since we opened. You know this place better than anyone. The staff trusts you. The people who use it trust you. You're the heart of this entire operation. But I'm not qualified. I don't have a degree in social work or nonprofit management or... You have something better. You have lived experience. You have compassion. You have integrity. She leaned forward. Henry, I started this because I wanted to give back. But you've turned it into something I never could have built alone. Something real and human and honest. That's all you. It's all us. Then let's make it official. Co-directors, partners, building this together. Henry looked at her. This woman who'd given him a chance when nobody else would. Who'd fought for him, believed in him, trusted him with something that mattered more than money. Okay, he said quietly. Okay. Okay, let's do it. Claire smiled. Then she pulled something from her desk drawer, a small box. I was hoping you'd say yes. She opened it. Inside was a silver ring. Simple. Elegant. On the inside was an engraving, "Kindness builds everything." Claire. It's not what you think. Well, it is, but not yet. She was blushing. I mean, I wanted to ask you something else, but I thought we should do the partnership thing first, and... Henry started laughing. Are you nervous? Terrified, actually. Why? Because I'm about to ask someone I deeply care about to... She stopped, took a breath, started over. Henry, this past year has been the best year of my life. Not because of Thomas's place, though that's part of it. Because of you. You reminded me how to be human, how to care about things that matter, how to build a life instead of just a career. Henry's heart was pounding. I know this is fast, Claire continued. I know we started as strangers at a bus stop, but I love you. I love who you are. I love who I am when I'm with you. And I can't imagine building any of this without you. She held out the ring. So I'm asking, will you marry me? Will you be my partner in everything? Business and life and all the messy human stuff in between? Henry couldn't speak, couldn't breathe, couldn't do anything except feel the weight of this moment. Claire looked panicked. You can say no. I'll understand. We can just be business partners and... Yes. What? Yes. Henry took the ring, slid it onto his finger. It fit perfectly. Yes to all of it. To being partners, to being family, to building a life together. Claire started crying. Henry pulled her close and kissed her. Soft at first, then deeper. A kiss that tasted like relief and joy and hope. When they finally pulled apart, Claire was laughing through tears. I was so nervous. I could tell. You're sure about this? More sure than I've been about anything in years. They told the staff the next day, about the partnership, about the engagement. The entire building erupted in cheers. Noah hugged them both. So you're going to be my stepmom? Claire looked nervous. If that's okay with you. Are you kidding? This is amazing. You're basically already family anyway. That night, the three of them had dinner in Henry's apartment. They ordered pizza, watched a movie, acted like a family that had always existed instead of one being carefully built from broken pieces. After Noah fell asleep on the couch, Henry and Claire sat on the small balcony, looking out at the city. Can you believe this? Claire whispered. A year ago, you were sleeping in a truck. A year ago, you were a CEO who forgot how to be human. And now we're two people building something that matters, with a kid we both love, in a city that's finally starting to feel like home. Claire leaned her head on his shoulder. Thank you for giving me your coat that night. Thank you for giving me a reason to keep fighting. They sat in comfortable silence watching the city lights, thinking about all the people in Thomas's place right now. Some sleeping in warm beds for the first time in months. Others dreaming about jobs they'd start next week. All of them holding on to hope that had been carefully tended by people who understood what it meant to lose everything. The wedding was set for September. Small, intimate. At Thomas's place, of course. They sent invitations to staff, to board members, to some of the people who'd used the facility and moved on to rebuilt lives. Henry called Noah a week before to make sure he was still coming. "Of course I'm coming. I'm the best man, remember." "I know. I just wanted to make sure you're okay with all this, with me marrying Claire, with everything changing." "Dad, things were already changing. This is just changing in a good direction." Noah paused. "Are you happy?" "Happier than I thought possible." "Then I'm happy. That's all that matters." The day of the wedding arrived warm and clear. They'd set up chairs in the gym. Nothing fancy. Just folding chairs and some flowers, and the basketball hoops still visible in the background. Henry stood at the front with Noah beside him. His son had grown up so much in the past year, almost 15 now, starting to look like a man. Like Laura. The doors opened. Claire walked in alone. She'd thought about having Patricia walk her down the aisle, but decided she'd walked herself through life this far. No reason to stop now. She wore a simple white dress, hair down, no veil, just Claire being Claire. When she reached Henry, she whispered, "Hi. Hi. Ready for this?" More than ready. The ceremony was short. They'd written their own vows. Claire went first. "Henry, you taught me that the world is only as cold as we let it be. That kindness isn't weakness. That giving away your last coat isn't losing something, it's finding everything that matters. I promise to build a life with you that honors that. A life where we choose warmth over cold, connection over isolation, hope over despair. Always." Henry's turn. His voice shook. "Claire, you saved my life. Not just by giving me a job, but by reminding me I still had value even when I'd lost everything else. You saw someone worth saving when I couldn't see it myself. I promise to spend the rest of my life building that kind of vision in the world. Where everyone gets seen, everyone gets saved, everyone gets a second chance. Together." They exchanged rings. The same simple silver bands with kindness builds. Everything engraved inside. When the officiant said, "You may kiss," the whole room erupted in applause. The reception was in the gym. Pizza and cake and terrible dancing and laughter that filled every corner of the building. At one point, Henry found himself standing with Noah watching Claire dance with Maria. "This is wild," Noah said. "What is all of it? 2 years ago you were homeless. Now you're married to a billionaire and running a place that helps hundreds of people. It's like a movie." "It doesn't feel like a movie. It feels real, messy and complicated and real." "Good real, though. The best real." Noah hugged him suddenly. Tight. "I'm proud of you, Dad. For real this time." "I'm proud of you too, for giving me a reason to keep going when I wanted to quit." "We're a good team. The best team." Later, as the party wound down, Henry and Claire slipped away to the roof. Someone had set up chairs up there during construction, and they'd never bothered removing them. They sat side by side looking out at Brooklyn, at the city that had broken them both and then given them a chance to rebuild. "What are you thinking?" Claire asked. "That I gave you a coat because it was the right thing to do, not because I expected anything back, and somehow it gave me back everything. That's how kindness works. You give it away and it comes back multiplied." "You really believe that?" "I have to. Otherwise, what's the point of any of this?" Henry took her hand. "What happens next?" "We keep building. Thomas's place expands. We open more locations. We change the whole model of how we help people." That's the professional answer. What about the personal answer? Claire smiled. "We go home. To our apartment. We wake up tomorrow and do the work. We fight when we disagree. We make up when we remember why we're fighting. We build a life that's big enough for both of us and Noah and everyone else we decide to let in." Sounds perfect. Sounds human. They sat there as the sun set, two people who'd given away everything and found it all returned, ready to spend the rest of their lives proving that the world was only as cold as people let it be. And somewhere in New York that night, someone was sitting at a bus stop in the cold, wondering if anyone cared. Tomorrow they'd find out about Thomas's place. Tomorrow they'd discover that kindness was real. Tomorrow they'd learn that one coat given away on the coldest night could change everything. Because that's what Henry and Clare had built. Not a shelter, not a charity. A promise that hope was real, that people mattered, that second chances existed. A promise kept alive by a homeless man who gave his coat to a stranger and a CEO who remembered what it meant to be saved. A promise called Thomas's Place, where kindness built everything, where the cold never won, where broken people came to remember they were human, and where one act of compassion on a freezing night had grown into a movement that would ripple forward for generations, touching lives that Henry and Clare would never meet, saving people they'd never know, proving over and over that the smallest gesture of humanity could resurrect entire worlds. The coat was just the beginning. The rest was everything.